I was wondering, what do you think the emotional impact of 3D is in a film, or what it should or could be?
Well, what it could be, I can tell you more what it could be. 3D is two different things. It is either an attraction, an additional attraction to filmmaking, or it can be a whole new thing, a whole new experience, a whole new way to immerse in the lives and into the world of somebody else. And only as such I'm interested in it. And I think there's a whole different 3D out there that is very natural and that is not effect-driven at all, but that is, in a way, the continuation of your life. You see with your two eyes, and your brain constitutes space all the time when you turn around, and when you walk out of the hotel here, you are in a 3D universe. And I want to make this film about the world of Pina Rausch in such a way that after a couple of minutes you forget that you're watching a film in 3D. I didn't want the technology to be the attraction, but the incredible art and the beauty of Pina Rausch's world.
One thing that I was so impressed with in this was the sound design and hearing the dancers breathing and their footsteps. What were your thoughts behind bringing that aspect to her performance?
Pina Rausch's art is very physical, and sometimes the dancers go to the extreme limits. Sacre du Printemps is, even as in the audience, you're completely wasted afterwards. You're in sweat, and it's extremely physical. And as we take you into such a privileged place that you're really on the stage with them and that you almost feel them and touch them, of course you have to hear them breathe, and you have to hear them moan, and you have to hear the humanity of it. Very often dance is strictly an aesthetic experience, and in the case of Pina Rausch, it's the opposite. It's about life. It's not about aesthetics.
And I was reading in an interview you spoke about seeing Pina's work for the first time and you having a very strong emotional reaction to it. Did you feel that you learned something about humanity or the human condition by watching her work?
Pina started out with a whole different premise than dance in general. She said, I'm not interested in how my dancers move. I'm only interested in what moves them. And that is a gigantic difference. Out of a sudden, dance deals with something. It's really about who we are and how we live and how we face life and love and loss and fear and joy. It's about all that. And Pina's art has put the dance world upside down. It has really revolutionized it. And you have to see it to believe it, that your body understands it and that your entire being understands it even before your brain does. Your brain might lag behind because you might have conceptions of dance that are different. And you might think all things about dance, and then you see Pina's work and you say, and you feel it. I cried like a baby when I first saw my first piece of Pina. It just came out of me because I couldn't believe that something so natural and beautiful had been unknown to me until then.
In an interview you said that 3D and dance are very well made for each other. And I've been very kind of critical of 3D, except for in my mind there's two great 3D movies, Avatar and Pina. And I was wondering whether you feel that all movies should be made in 3D or only certain ones, or eventually, or that's just the way that the technology is moving.
I think not all movies should be made in 3D, not at all. But movies that have an affinity to space and that can use it, and that where this new language is a necessity, that is interesting. When it's only an attraction and a fairground attraction, basically, these movies can use it, but could just as well be made without it. But to tell a story that has an affinity to this new space is fabulous. Haven't really seen it, and I agree with you. The only masterpiece in this new language is Avatar, and the rest was like a little bit waste of time. It was almost like destroying this new language before it even could show its potential, because using it strictly as an attraction is not enough. The film has to really want it and need it. And dance I was lucky. Dance was made for it. They were made for each other, 3D and dance. And I'm sure there are stories that are made to be told in 3D. We just have to still find them and invent them.
Well, one thing I was curious, has James Cameron spoken to you about your film?
I've never spoken to him. I would have loved to be able to call him. We made the bulk of Pina before Avatar came out. It was a rumor. James Cameron was making this movie, and he was going to put 3D on the map, and people thought we were crazy when we started making a dance film, because 3D was not really part of the cinematic landscape. And then I'm eternally grateful to Cameron that he had this grand vision and he made it clear to the entire world, from now on there is a new language in cinema, and it made it respectable, and it made people respect us in our little project more. But I've never spoken to the man. I would shine his shoes.
I was wondering, is there a film from the past, a favorite film of yours that you would love to that you wish had been shot in 3D, or you'd be curious to see in 3D?
I showed the film at the Chinese theater on Saturday, and afterwards there was a lady, elderly lady, coming towards me and shaking my hands and said, "I'm the widow of Gene Kelly. He would have loved this movie, and he would have immediately used 3D if he had known it." Ooh, that made my day.
Yeah, especially with him with such a physical type of kind of.
And imagine what he did and how he did transcend space. Let's say in Singing in the Rain, he really did. He didn't have the technology, but he went very, very far with the two-dimensional representation. And I started to imagine what Gene Kelly could have done if he had had James Cameron's camera.
And you're talking about almost sort of killing the 3D genre before it got started. What do you think were the main errors that studios have been making with their 3D films that's caused the reputation to go down? And do you think they're looking to fix it?
I hope they're about to fix it, and I hope that movies like Scorsese and Spielberg that are coming out now will open up the range of movies and the language to other sort of storytelling. I think myself, I'm completely convinced that 3D is the future of the documentary, and that it will lift that genre to a whole new level, because the presence of a camera, the presence of a person in front of a camera is a whole different thing in 3D. Your body in front of the camera, you as a person, you have a volume, you are there, I can almost touch you. I am interested in your story in a whole different way when I shoot you in 3D. So I think the documentary has a long way to go with 3D, and eventually storytelling will also not only include action and blockbuster movies, but also intimate stories and family stories that we just have to crack the code how to tell it in 3D.